We are building the Cloud Drake from League of Legends as a D&D dragon. For AC, I gave this drake an AC of 18, so it ties for lowest AC among adult dragons. I did this because I think the Cloud Drake is quick. It never adapted to have super thick scales. For its health, I wanted to go more middle of the pack. Giving it 19d12 plus 80 will give it an average of 204, placing it right in that sweet spot. For the speed, all adult drakes have 3 speed, a walk, fly, and a 3rd speed. But unlike the other dragons, I am not gonna give this dragon a 3rd speed. Instead, I'm making its flying speed exceptionally fast, because speed is what the Cloud Drake is known for in League of Legends. And I want it to be known for the same thing in Dungeons & Dragons. With stats, the average stat total for adult dragons can vary quite drastically, but I have already created a mountain drake, and in that video, I came to the conclusion that 108 is the best middle ground. So I will be keeping that the benchmark for the elemental drakes. We will put 20 in strength, 30 in dexterity to prove again it has superior speed, 10 in constitution because I think if you can get a hit off of it, it should be weaker than the others, 14 in intelligence, 18 in constitution, and 16 in charisma. It gains advantage on the following saving throws: Dex, Constitution, Strength, and Intelligence. The senses it gets are the same as all other dragons. It will have the skills of Intimidation, Nature, and Stealth. I gave it Stealth because I picture the rumors and stories of this drake being it blends in with the gust of wind, and it will attack you faster than the wind blows past you. It can speak Common and Draconic and is immune to cold damage. It is not an ice dragon, but like the Silver Dragon, it dwells in high altitude, so I think cold immunity makes sense. For attacks, it has a claw and tail attack, same as other dragons, but it has the same dilemma for its bite that the Mountain Drake has. It has no elemental damage because there is no wind element, and with all other dragons, their bite deals 2d10 piercing plus 1d10 of their element. To fix this, we will do the same thing we did to the Mountain Drake by moving the 1d10 from the elemental damage over to the base damage, making the jaw deal 3d10 piercing damage. It will deal around the same damage the other dragons deal with their bite, without having to give it an element that doesn't make any sense. It has Frightful Presence to fear creatures, like the other dragons, and its last attack is where the fun comes in, its Breath attack. So far, this drake is all about speed, and I'm not stopping now. The Cloud Drake's breath attack is quicker in League of Legends, and I wanted it to feel like it fired quick in D&D as well, but all drakes get 1 breath attack and have to hope it recharges on a 5 or a 6 each round, which I'm not going to change. But what I am changing is instead of firing 1 large blast when it is used, its breath attack will fire 3 smaller blasts of wind. For this to work, I looked at the different breath attack damages, and decided to go on the lower end with an average of 51. Then I broke that up into 3, and here's what we were left with. The Drake roars blasts through the air 3 times. The Drake can choose up to 3 different targets for these blasts to hit. Each creature targeted by one of the 3 blasts must make a DC 18 dex save, or take 17 5d6 bludgeoning damage, and be pushed back 5 feet for each blast. If a single creature is targeted by all 3 blasts, they are pushed back 15 feet. This will average about the same as the other adult drakes, but it will have the feeling of the drake firing very quickly. Let me know what you think about this breath attack in the comments below. With the drake's legendary actions, it will have the exact same as all the other adult drakes, with a detect, tail attack, and a wing attack. Moving on to the Cloud Drake's lair, this drake dwells in high altitude mountain passes, where the wind can be channeled through different canyons. When coming up with this, I thought about World 6 from Mario Bros. Wii, if you catch my drift. I also added interesting lore to this drake, where it can sense any movement or change in the wind, similar to a spider's web. For its lair actions, we are going to take a page out of the Silver Drake's book, with it being able to create a fog cloud using the fog cloud spell, and being able to create a strong wind through its lair. But the Silver Drake's wind deals cold damage to creatures. For this drake, the wind is more harsh, and each creature within 120 feet of the dragon must succeed a DC 15 strength save, or be pushed back 10 feet and knocked prone. If the creature is pushed into a wall, they take 5 or 1d10 bludgeoning damage, and the rest of the wind is the same. Gases and vapors dissipate in the wind, and unprotected flames are extinguished. Protected flames, such as lanterns, have a 50% chance of being distinguished. For regional effects, I gave it one of the silver dragons, where it can harden clouds and fog to create structures. I felt this made a lot of sense. For the other regional effects, its soul warps the landscape. In a 6-mile radius around the drake's lair, the air feels cold and bitter. Any creatures in the area must make a constitution save every 30 minutes, or take 1 point of exhaustion. The constitution save is a DC 5, but for every 30 minutes the creature is in this area, the DC is increased by 1. The creature can decrease the DC for every 10 minutes spent near a heat source, like fire. If the creature is resistant to cold damage, this doesn't affect them. In a 4-mile radius around the lair, the wind picks up to extreme speeds, creating channels of wind. If the creatures are in the wind channels and they walk in the direction the wind is facing, their speed is increased by 15. If the creatures walk against the channels, their speed is reduced by 15. And to relate back to that spiderweb effect of the wind, if the cloud drake is in the wind stream, they instantly succeed on any perception check. But if the adventurers venture through the windy lair and slay the cloud drake, they will get the cloud soul. This magic item is an aura that is absorbed into the players. Up to 5 creatures that had a hand in slaying the cloud drake absorb a portion of its soul. This increases all 5 of the creature's movement speed by 5. Additionally, any terrain or magical effect that lowers the speed only affects the base speed of the creature. With the cloud soul, they will always have at least 5 feet of movement speed. The last part is to symbolize the tenacity of the cloud soul, so that if you are affected by difficult terrain, that lowers your base speed by half, and then the 5 is added on top of that. If a spell like Hold Person is cast on you, and the spell reduces your base speed to 0, the cloud soul will then add 5 on top of that, making the power of the wind keep you moving. And that's the Cloud Drake, forged for your D&D 5e table. If you want to see the Earth Drake in D&D, or the Yordle as a playable race, click the videos on screen. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.